Hello, hello. You are watching the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Today is law number 8, the law of intuition. Got some invites out. Thank you for joining us, and we're going to get started here momentarily. Please, if you're watching the replay, type in replay. Also, if you can hit like, share, or have a comment for us, put that in the comment section. Hi, Amy. How are you? Just jumping on here a minute early, getting things rolling. How are things? Congratulations on the weight loss. That's awesome. Daryl's here. How are you? Bess is here. Hello.
Hey everyone. How's everybody doing? Amy, hi. Glad to see ya. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good. Just getting things rolling here.
So today is law number 8, the law of intuition in the laws of leadership. The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Hi, Joyce. Glad to see you. And Michelle. So today's really cool because of this special intangible quality that is essential to leadership. We are Bess McCarty of the MLM Millionaire Club School for Network Marketers and Jeff David Gamble of My Leadership Network, certified John Maxwell trainer. So we're able to partner to bring you these MLM lunchtime leadership shows. And these are generic trainings. Every weekday noon right here, we'll have a half hour of the learning, and then we'll have questions and answers afterwards. If you're watching the replay, we'd love if you type replay so that we can thank you for that. And love to hear where you're from. You guys, where are you tuning in? Where is this reaching to? Connects us all. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, empower, and equip entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. So we are so happy to be able to do this. We heard that no one else is doing something like this in this profession. And we get to help raise the bar of professionalism in network marketing, and particularly with leadership. So we are thrilled to have you here. Welcome, Amy from Chicago. So Jeff, what are we learning today?
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over law number 8, the law of intuition. And again, all of these laws can be learned. All of these laws come with, unfortunately, lessons to be learned if you don't know them. They come with consequences. Each one of the laws stands by itself, so you don't have to necessarily know the rest of them to apply the one that we go over each day. The overall idea is there's 21 laws, and you want to learn each one of them, and you're going to be very strong in some, and you're probably going to be weak in others. When I first read this book, about 18 of them I had no idea existed, and then the other 3 I happen to be really good at. And John always makes the comment, he's like, the 3 or 4 that you're good at, you're like, oh yeah, those are laws. And the rest of them, you're like, John, I'm not really sure those are laws, and it's just because of you just didn't know that they were around. Each law that you learn allows you to connect with different people. Each law that you learn allows you to build your business a little bit better. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit these laws and give you some insight on how you can use this to actually build your direct sales or your network marketing business. Again, there's no companies on here. There's no products. There's no specifics about comp plans. It's just overall things you need to know to be able to recruit and build a team, really inside of anything, but specifically, Kevin, what's happening? Specifically inside of direct sales. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So learning the law of intuition. Leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. What does that mean? The leadership bias is I have to see what's good for everyone, not just what's good for me. Most of the time when we're in a sales position, a normal sales position, it's all about you. Why? Because you have certain goals you have to meet. You have certain expectations. You might have a quota. And it's really all about you getting as much as you can. But when it comes to building a network and building a team, you have to evaluate it differently and say what's good for the team. Because what's good for you only might not necessarily be good overall for the team, meaning how you do business, what you do on a regular basis. Not everyone is intuitive in the area of leadership, but everybody possesses some sort of intuition. You know, intuition is, you know, that thing when you're walking, you know, late at night and you get some weird feeling, you're like, I'm not going to go that way. You know, I've heard that that sort of intuition is when God decides to remain anonymous. And you're like, what was that? And you're like, well, it was just something that was there. They say go with the gut feeling, which sometimes is true. Some people's gut is messed up. You know, sometimes you eat something bad and you're going with a gut feeling. You're like, I'm scared. So sometimes the intuition, the fear, is what people are talking about. And that's not necessarily the type of intuition. It's being able to pick up all these 1% things. I say intuition has a lot to do with timing. Somebody you've wanted to talk to, somebody you should talk to, somebody you're going to talk to. Intuition kind of will give you that nudge if you're listening. That's the key. Andrea, how are you from Texas? So in fact, everyone is intuitive in their area of strength, whatever that is. So that's one of the things I'll do when I first meet somebody is I evaluate, you know, who they are, what their personality is, and where their strengths come from. A lot of times our strengths will come directly from our personality. You know, if you're good at making decisions, and you're a D-type personality that jumps in and just does stuff, you're going to have some intuition on when to jump. You're going to jump into everything. So those are going to be things, hey, when you need to speak up, it's going to be there. But I look at it as the basics. You know, let's look at intuition as it comes to contacting, as it comes to inviting, as it comes to presenting. Sometimes there's an intuition of when to call that person, when to go after it. I like the intuition. Intuition has a lot to do with when to close. When to close. You know, somebody basically says, hey, look, I'm in the middle of everything. I've got this going on. Some people do not pick up the fact that somebody just told you they have 87 other priorities and you're going to try to close anyway, just because it's all about you and not about the person you're with, and you're not really able to see it. That's why I like saying you need to understand the basics so well that you get the basics memorized, where you don't have to think about the pattern you're going through. You're more thinking about the person that's going through the pattern. It takes a while to kind of get to that point, but that's one of the reasons Bess and I, focus so much on the basic skills, teaching the basic skills to people first, because if you don't know the basic skills, the rest of this stuff doesn't come because you don't know the skills, you don't know the pattern you're going through. You're randomly, throwing darts at the network marketing board, hoping something good will happen. And I can tell you, it's very difficult to build anything significant when you're just aiming aimlessly. So living the law of intuition. The law of intuition depends much more on just the facts. It's the facts plus instincts plus conditions. So what are the conditions? You have to know people and their lives of what's going on. People try to close because somebody said, you know what, I'm going through a really hard time. Oh my gosh, you need my network marketing company. I just lost a job. Oh my gosh, you need my network marketing company. I just got a job and I have to move to the other side of the country. I have to move to California. Oh my gosh, you need my network marketing company. It's growing so big out there. Again, intuition and timing, you have to know what conditions are, how you know this person. By the way, the two hardest people to recruit, inside of network marketing are people who just got a job and people who just lost a job. I mean, a friend of mine used to say this it's funny. He was like, people who just got a job were just lied to. They were told how great it was going to be and there were never going to be problems and everything was secure for the rest of their life at that job. So, they're living that, that fuzzy fairy tale of everything's going to work out. The people who just lost a job just realized they were lied to and are coming to the reality of the truth that a job is not secure. So, and I only say that, jokingly, I believe in having a job until your business builds you a investment income, that the investment income takes over your job. So that way you can walk away and have the business and the investment. A friend of mine said, if I had $50 in this hand and $100 in this hand, which one would you take? And most people's intuition would say, well, I'd take the 100. And the reality is why not take both? Wouldn't that make more sense? That's just one of the things, that proves the point of, where your instinct is, timing. and where your education is financially, what happens to people in business. I see a lot of people who make that jump too fast, or they're encouraged, worse, they're encouraged to make that jump too fast to get them dependent upon one income. You know, we talk all the time about multiple sources of income. Wouldn't it be great to have a job and extra money? Then why would you preach that from the front of the room and then get people to go to just one income? I mean, it's backwards to it. I say it's incongruent. There's some things that are incongruent. You want to make sure that you have congruency in what you're teaching and doing. Who you are determines what you see. So sometimes people have had a background in sales for a long time. I met a lady yesterday who had never done direct sales before, never done anything like this, and in 6 months went from 0 to 100,000, which is, I mean, amazing, impressive. But she had been in sales for a decade prior to starting. In fact, the specific type of sales is she did billboard sales. So billboard sales, the average person, I was like, well, what was your average ticket price? She's like, $1,100 a month. That's what she was selling. It was $1,100 a month. That was the entry ticket price to billboard advertising. Went up over 20,000 was an initial contract just to get started. So when you're selling big ticket items like that, you're in front of big ticket people, people who have money, people who make decisions. That's the only type of people that she had been hanging out with for 10 years. When she first started, she didn't think she was good at sales. She spent 10 years in it and was one of the best at it. So her database of people to go to when she started in network marketing was 10 years of contacting, 10 years of inviting, 10 years of presenting, 10 years of following up, and 10 years of closing. So, you know, does it make sense she was able to go from 0? Now, if you're already making 6 figures, you already know what it takes to make 6 figures. So she went right out and made 6 figures again, was able to replace her entire income in 6 months. Is that normal? No, that's not normal. But is it possible? Yes. The problem is inside of direct sales, we use one story as the story to promote. That's not normal, but I'm saying it is possible. So when you hear stories like that, your intuition is like, oh my gosh, you know, I should be able to do this. Well, you have to think through and get the rest of the story. Understand the lessons that were learned over a decade, and all of a sudden were applied in the business within 6 months. So there were a lot of factors involved in somebody doing it that fast. If you want to see more, be more. That's one of the things. If you want to relate to more people, one of the best ways to relate to more people is read more books. One of the best ways to relate to more people is watch more videos specifically on growth, specifically on people development, personalities. I find people watch all kinds of great inspirational videos. Oh my gosh, I watched this music video and it makes you feel good on the inside, but you don't relate to a single new person. A lot of people spend a lot of time on quote unquote education, but they're no further ahead than where they were when they started, because the information isn't specific to growing a business. It's specific to whatever you like that makes you feel good, which is great if you feel good. But feeling good and knowing another thing about another person is completely different. So go back to the lesson of the law of the lid and review your score on the qualities of a leader. Do things that will increase those qualities. Well, number one, just going through the 21 qualities of a leader, learning about them. Hi, Denise. That's good. But then how do you grow in each area? It's pretty simple. You basically have to take out another book and do 15 minutes a day. It's not a lesson you're going to learn all at once. It's a lesson you're going to learn over time. Every day, 15 to 20 minutes, pages. This is the latest book that I'm reading. I'm finishing this one up. It's the complete 101 collection, whatever leader needs to know. It's a lot of books inside of one book. So it's attitude, relationships, equipping, leadership, mentoring, and then success. He kind of smashed them all into one book, the complete 101 series. So this is kind of nice because it was like one book, but 7 books inside that you're able to break down a lot of these lessons and learn these lessons over time. Every time I read something by Maxwell, regardless, it sounds like I had a friend, you know, that's done very well, but kind of made fun. He's like, oh, that one guy that writes the same book over and over and over again. And I said, well, maybe he has a point to that. People aren't listening. I think that's one of the points. You know, you can write about the same subject 40 times, 50 times, 100 times. It's because people aren't learning the lessons as you go. They learn a little bit out of each one. And I've noticed some of the stories that back up what he's talking about are the same inside the book. But there's a reason why he's the #1 speaker outside of, you know, celebrities and sports figures. That, you know, makes sense. He's written more material on one subject than anybody. So you have to be intuitive about why that is. You know, I started asking those questions, like, why has he written so much, you know, material on one subject? It's because it's that important. Do the things that will increase those qualities, the 15 minutes a day, watching something specific would be another one. You know, go from that to watching Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. I mean, there's so many great people out there. Bess has an entire archive online as well, learning about specifically about your profession. 3 levels of intuition. Those naturally understand leadership. There's some people who just get this. They come in, they evaluate, and they're like, okay, this is how it's going to work, and they're able to see it. There are some people that can be nurtured, meaning it can be taught. You can be like, okay, so when you come into a room, here's what you're looking for. For instance, finding when you go to network with people, okay, so a lot of people will try to go to these networking events, and they basically blow the networking event, the opportunity away. And the reason they blow the opportunity away is they'll walk into a room and they think they're just supposed to talk to people. One of the things you want to do when you walk into a networking room is you want to see who is the leader of the group. And the leader of the group necessarily isn't the person hosting. A lot of people will automatically assume it's got to be the person hosting. Sometimes it's not. What you want to do is you want to go in and you want to evaluate who is the most influential person in that room. That's the person that has all the people around them, usually, that's talking. So what you want to do is you want to make your way to the most, you know, the circle that's the largest in the room, the circle that's the most influential. And my friend used to say it this way: out of 100 people in the room, there's really only 3 people you really need to talk to, because those 3 people will influence the rest of that room. I thought that was a really interesting way to look at it. You know, that's some intuition that I had never heard before. And he's like, yeah, most people, when they go to a networking group, they're trying to talk to every single person. The reality is when it comes to influence, when it comes to leadership, you could talk to 3 people and influence the whole room. I was like, wow, that's a different way to look at it. So we'll give the rest of that lesson in another lesson that we're going to talk about. The third, okay, so 3 levels of leadership. Number 1, those that naturally understand. 2, those that can be nurtured. 3, those that will never understand leadership and intuition. And the reason they'll never understand it is because they never work on themselves. It's the me factor. It's me. And now that I'm done talking about me, what do you think about me? They're just 100% into themselves. And they just don't get it because of some kind of trauma. Some people have been through trauma. Some people have been through damage. Some people, it's their philosophy towards life and their attitude that it has to be about them. Typically relates back to some kind of drama. And I'm sort of making fun of this. I'm not specifically pointing out anyone or anything. Hey, Brian, how's it going? But there are certain people who just won't be able to learn this because of where they're at. There's certain seasons in life where you can't learn it because you're so crazy with a move or a relationship issue or maybe a medical issue that it's impossible to pick up on things because your emotional energy is being used somewhere else, and it's just not, you just don't have the ability. So you have to be able to discern. You have to be able to discern who gets this stuff and who doesn't get this stuff. Develop intuition by developing your thinking. Research the project, render the plan, and rehearse the play. You know, that's that day-to-day operation, every day, learning and growing and figuring things out. This is a quote by Napoleon Hill. It says, once you have a burning desire, you'll live in purpose of that desire. Decisions come quickly and easily and seldom. One of the things I wrote on my Facebook page, or maybe I didn't put it on my Facebook page. Actually, I wrote it in my notes to put on my Facebook page, is you'll usually find leaders make decisions very quickly. And the reason why leaders make decisions more quickly, faster than everyone else, is because when you're in a leadership role, typically, if you have vision, if you have a mission, if you have a purpose in what you're doing, you know where you're going and you know why you're going there and you know what you're doing. You have a very narrow line that you're walking. So making a decision, you can see, does this take me off the line or does this move me ahead on the line that I'm going? And you're able to make that decision quickly. And here's another thing you'll find about successful people and leaders is they change their mind very slowly to seldom. Once they've made a decision, that's it. That's what they're doing. it's hard to bounce them off that track. So that's successful people. Now, unsuccessful people, unfortunately, make decisions very slowly. Why? Because they don't know where they're going. So they're like, well, if I did this, I could end up over here, and maybe I could end up over here. And you'll watch them walk around in a circle of people. It's funny to me, is they'll go to people who have no direction to get directions from. I mean, can you imagine asking somebody, hey, I'm trying to get to downtown Chicago. And I only say this because Amy lives in Chicago, not because it's Amy, but that's the first person I saw. Could you imagine me living in Indianapolis saying, hey, I think it's Chicago. I wonder if I should go to Chicago. Bess is telling me to go to Chicago. And then I go to a bunch of people who don't have a map, don't have a GPS, have never been to Chicago, and say, you know, how do you think I could get to Chicago? I mean, that's literally what people do. That's how people treat a lot of their decisions, is they'll go to people who have never been to Chicago, don't have a map to Chicago, don't like Chicago, and those are the people they're asking about going to Chicago about. And they're like, well, you know, I'm still kind of evaluating Chicago. I'm not really sure if that's what I should be doing. Okay. And you wonder why some leaders are like, Chicago, right? Well, if I want to be where, if Bess says she's in Chicago training, if Bess says she's there, that's where I'm going, if that makes sense. Because I know what I'm doing. I know the purpose. Bess and I are building something together. There's no question. And I'm not going to go to any of the people who have never been to Chicago to ask them about Chicago. Just like in business, a lot of people go to other people and ask for, I get this. Well, I just want your thoughts or opinion. I want your thoughts or opinion on my business, to somebody that doesn't own a business. I want your thoughts and opinion on network marketing to somebody. And I understand when you're new, basically, and this is the psychology lesson behind the principle of going to show people, and why people get so discouraged when they first get into network marketing. They show it to somebody, is what they're actually seeking is they're not necessarily always seeking somebody to get in. They're seeking approval. They want somebody to be like, wow, you've made a great decision. That's awesome. You got into business. That would be a great turnaround. But what most people do is they go to people that dislike the industry, that have no knowledge in the industry, and they're seeking approval, and they're seeking kind of that warm, fuzzy feeling of, oh, wow, that's such a great idea. But the person's never been in and they've never had any success. So they're almost intuitively going to get negative right off the bat, when what they're seeking is the direct opposite. It's just a weird phenomenon that I've seen inside the industry. And that's why I've created some of the contacting methods I have, is to create kind of the acceptance. In reality, I always ask people, I said, well, who have you showed it to so far? Well, I can't believe this. Nobody will get in. Well, who'd you show it to? Well, my mom. I said, have you ever worked with your mom before? Yeah. I said, and it's funny that somebody will complain about their family and then be like, well, I showed it to them and they didn't want to get in. And I was like, well, if you showed it to them and they wanted in, would you really want them on your team? Like, this is a person you've told me for the last 10 years that you don't want to be around. And now all of a sudden you want to recruit them and work with them. I'm like, can you imagine how awful that would be? They're like, I never thought of that. But that's when I found it wasn't necessarily that they wanted to recruit them. They were looking for acceptance. And that's what people do, is they constantly go out there, and seek acceptance in what they're doing. But they seek it from the wrong person or the wrong people. So listen for the following that indicates the opportunity to teach this law. People are like, well, I really know I need to do this, but that's how it was. Well, I know I really need to do this, but whatever the story is afterwards is what's keeping you from doing whatever you're doing. I kind of get a hunch, but I just don't know. I really want to go to the event. I really want to go to the convention, but I'm just not sure. I really want to build, but I'm just not sure. I really want to talk to people, but I'm just not sure. Wayne Dyer says, if prayer is talking to God, intuition is when God talks to us. Some people believe you have to be in the right place at the right time. Almost every time a leader is in the right place at the right time, other people are in that exact same place. Isn't that true? You know, somebody makes a decision inside of a room of 1,000 people to make it to the next level. Somebody decides to, build to leave their job. Somebody decides to build to a significant income to move. Other people are in the same room, but they miss the lesson. There's a difference between intuition, which is being at the right place at the right time, and then having the right awareness. My mentor, one of my mentors, David Bird, used to say, awareness leads to evaluation, and evaluation leads to decision, and decision leads to change. So being aware of something, bringing awareness to something, is sometimes the first thing. You don't need to make decisions for people as much as you need to make them aware. Hey, have you noticed every time that you do this, this happens? You know, that's something, that's a good question to ask, you know. Hey, every time you get into one of these businesses, are you aware that you go to the same 6 people and then quit? No, I'm not really aware of that. Well, let's look back and do the track record and get them to see, just become aware of the pattern that started, and then ask them, how do you think you should break that pattern? Oh, well, you know, let them come up with the answer. David Bird said that the best coaching is when you've directed them, not directed them at all, but just got them aware and they've made all the decisions themselves. That's what true coaching is about. There's a lot of coaches online that want to tell people what to do. That's not coaching, by the way, at least not coaching by the definition of the profession. That's coaching by, you know, the Bear Bryant coaching, go do what I say or I'm going to smack you in the head. Or, you know, that's the football line of coaching, which is what a lot of people think coaching is. But coaching in the profession is a lot of times asking questions and making people become aware. And the decision always lies within the person. So that the person has to make that decision and figure it out. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to, and David Bird told me this, he goes, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get people to become aware and self-improving. They want to be self-improving. They want to you want people to start figuring out their problems for themselves and not having to come to you. If everybody has to come to you to solve their problem, then you're not a leader, you're a counselor. And a lot of times you're the bucket that's taking in all of the negativity, which obviously isn't something good to be. So when it comes to intuition, it comes to building your business, knowing when to do stuff and when not to. One of the lessons that I got the best from Maxwell is a true leader, it's not how often he says yes. A true leader, you'll find, says no more often than anything. He knows or she knows what they should spend their time on and what they shouldn't. And they're able to make that decision very quickly. So with that, I'm going to turn this lesson over to Bess and get her insights on the law of intuition.
Thank you, Jeff. That was just awesome. Yeah, every time you talk, I write. I write down, I mean.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for the likes and loves. Who has a question? Who has a tip? Who has an insight about intuition or about network marketing? Because we're going to take those questions in a few minutes. Want to say hi, first of all, to Lynn, Ricardo, Andrea, Joyce, Stefania, Roy, and Julie. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for studying to be a better leader. Oh, more likes and loves. Thank you for studying to be a better leader and raise the bar in this profession. So, Jeff, you operate a lot by intuition. You have a little story of when we first met 4 years ago on Eric Worre's page, and then we talked, and then you just knew that we were going to be working together. What was that like?
Something like that. I mean, you know, after we talked, I was like, I kind of recognized, you know, there's different personality types. And if you want to affect a larger group of people, you bring 2 personalities together. And what happens is, especially if they're opposite, they have the ability to capture a lot more people. And just through our conversations, you know, you can see certain strengths people have. You know, there's certain people who have, you know, more different details. Everybody's detail oriented in some way. But some people focus on different details. Some people focus on the details of people's lives. Some people focus on the physical details of the project that's going on. So it was something that I actually told Brandy when I had met. I was like, you know, we're going to end up working together. I don't know how or where, but I can just see it coming together. You know, I could see it years in advance coming together. And it was probably, I don't know, a year in before I spoke on one of your calls. And then afterwards, you know, that conversation came up in my head again of, you know, somehow this is going to happen. And just over time, and it's kind of funny because we can go back and actually look at that conversation, because Bess and I actually, when we first were talking about this, once we decided to come together, we were like, how exactly did we meet? Well, we think it was this and we think it was that. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure we met through Facebook. And I went back to my newsfeed and I went all the way back to the very beginning. And it was actually February 15th of 2014 that we had a conversation. So she must have asked a question on Eric Worre's page, I'm guessing right around Valentine's Day 2014, which is kind of awesome that that's how it worked out. I answered her on the 15th. It was probably actually the 14th at night, you know, because that's usually I'm still up. answered the question. All of a sudden, the conversation started back and forth. And now here we are. So, you know, sometimes you can just see that this is a person, not only that you could work with, but sometimes you will meet somebody that you should work with, and you just stay in touch. You know, and that's sort of how it worked out in this case.
Well, thank you for that story. That's a great story of intuition. And that might happen for you all sometime, even though I'm not in a network marketing company anymore. I'm just dedicated to being a generic coach full-time here, so I can do a good job at it. But that might happen for you about someone who's going to be a future leader on your team. You just have a feeling to stay in touch. Oh, there's some synergy here. There's some future. I just sense it. I just feel it. You know, it's as clear as the nose on my face. You know, it's clear to you. And Jeff had this feeling. It took me a little while to catch on. But what if, you know, that happens between you and a team member? What Jeff did is he just stayed in touch over time, like over 4 years, and until it was the ripe time, right? And that's part of that intuition. Somehow it just came together, and I recognized what he was teaching, and I wanted to help bring it out. And he recognized the same about me, which is different things that we both bring out, and that we would work well together. So I've just been loving it and very grateful. I feel like something bigger than us is directing us and moving us to get together and present this way for the network marketing profession. That might be a feeling that you have too. The biggest takeaway that I had from what Jeff shared so far was the person versus the program. Make the person your agenda instead of my own program the agenda. And I loved when you pointed out, Jeff, about when it's time to close or even bring up something. It is not when they just get a job or lost a job, or maybe when they're on vacation or when they're moving, they're going to be crazy busy. You know, I mean, when I've moved, sometimes I didn't even sleep for a while, you know, so that's not the time to bring up something like that. Intuition. A couple of people, Jeff and Julie, both mentioned that that's connected with the instinct and the gut level feeling. And I think, as someone here, or Jeff mentioned, right, that it comes from something higher. True intuition comes from something higher than ourselves, not our mind or our emotions. And so make your quiet time, have a little quiet time every day. I call it my spiritual time in the morning, where I just like clear the deck, sit down and be quiet. I do have my own spiritual time routine, but it's a time when I listen. And maybe that's an important factor of intuition.
Yep. I wonder if man's intuition is. I think that's.
To ourselves, our higher self, our higher power. And how can our higher self, our higher power get our attention if I'm always crazy busy? If my mind is always active, how can I, or I'm always talking all the time, how can I be listening? So I think it's, I know a very successful business person, a multi-millionaire, says make time for those spiritual times, because that's when her best, most creative business ideas come. And I know for me, that's true in the mornings, or sometimes I'll wake up in the night when that instinct can get my attention, because I'm not crazy busy, and it'll say, do this or that, or remember to talk to this or that. And maybe it's because that person's ready, and I wouldn't have mentally thought of it. I swear, I think it's coming from something beyond me. So I grab a pen. You know, I've learned to write in the dark real good, so I have to turn the light on. But I grab a pen. I write pretty good in the dark. And I write down, you know, remember to talk to Julie, remember to talk to Jeff, or now do this next. This is ready for this to happen next in your business. So, you know, keep a little pen or paper, or talk into your phone, dictate into your phone notes, whatever way that you can catch those little things that come. You know, they're important. They're not just something, they're not just accident. So value that higher part of yourself. Now, what this looks like in the body, y'all have mentioned gut level intuition. I always used to think that intuition was in the head, you know, but the Chinese, who are the original body minders, and I am a body mind therapist, They say that's in our guts. That's why we have that gut level feeling. You guys mentioned that today. You know, the intuition, your instinct is in the guts, in your belly. And so if we learn to listen to our belly, if we learn to listen to our body and be in touch with our body emotions, that's one way to develop more instinct and intuition. Be in touch with our body. But the Chinese say, well, man lives from his neck up. You know, we're all mental. We're not in touch with our heart or our guts or our body. But the Chinese say there's three brains. There's the intellectual brain, then there's the heart center, where we feelings, and that's how we connect with other people. And then there's our guts. And that is the area where you know and meet your needs. You realize what you need or what a situation needs. Like Jeff was saying, is this the time to close or not? This is time to bring up my business. The person just lost their job. Tune into your gut. Take a breath. Get in your body. That's one way to get in your body, is take a breath. Listen to your body. That's one way to be in touch with your intuition. You can even put your hand on your tummy right now and say, you know, what's my tummy feeling? Is it upset? I can't stomach this. I got butterflies in my stomach. You know, what are those messages? Does this feel right to me? Does this situation not feel right? If you think if it's my program and I think I should say something or bring this up to the person, but my belly is saying, my intuition, my gut feeling is saying, no, 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 it's not the right time. Maybe you should listen to that. Maybe that's not necessarily fear or procrastination or call reluctance or something like that. You know, if it's from a body message, maybe especially in the belly, maybe that's good to look for it. So anybody have questions for us? What else, Jeff?
Julie asked, does that have to do with the chakras of the body?
Definitely. So if you're talking about the chakras or the energy center, there's one here, one here, one here, and then the heart and the solar plexus. And then the gut level intuition one would be 3 inches below the belly button, and then the root chakra, the primal chakra. So there's 7. So let's see, this would be that I'm talking about the second one. I guess it goes the other way, but from the top down, it would be the second one, third, the fourth one would be the heart, fifth, sixth one from the top would be the gut level intuition. So yes, these do align with the chakras. That they're simply different energy centers in the body that some healing systems have recognized.
Absolutely.
Wow. Hi, Marty. Go heal. Aviva. Donald. Awesome. Becky is here.
Here, Tom just jumped on. What's happening? We're going over the law of intuition. You know, how to be able to recognize things. And part of it's being able to recognize things before that happen. Had a great conversation yesterday with a gentleman that's been in the industry now for over 15 years. And we were talking about how things change inside of organizations, how belief changes, and how fear can change inside of an organization, and being able to recognize it ahead of time when things move and things change and people, you know, join different companies and move here and move there, and how, you know, emotionally the organization changes inside of a company. You know, sometimes we can live in the false sense of security that everything will always stay that way, and that's unfortunate. So that's why it's like you consistently want to be growing, you consistently want to be morphing towards a higher level of intuition in what you're doing, to be able to recognize that stuff, because we were talking about how you can miss stuff when it first happens, but now looking back, you can connect the dots and see where, you know, where it starts to go. Hi, Nicole, how are you? So those are just some things about intuition that are important. You know, all these lessons, again, are important. Some of them you're going to be really good at, some of them not so much. Tomorrow, we're actually going over the law of magnetism. So for those of you who are wondering what it takes, the law of magnetism is amazing. I can give you some things that will actually help attract people instantly. You will be able to attract new people instantly to your business, to yourself, to have conversations with. And it's pretty easy to do once you understand the lesson and what to do. So that'll be good. Also, you can find us online at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So if you go up to the search bar at the very top of Facebook, You can go MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, ask to be part of our group. Again, we ask that there are no company specifics, no product specifics, no links leading people out. If you want to have a discussion about leadership in there, fantastic. About, a question about MLM, how do I do something? Why do we do something a certain way? Somebody you're trying to contact, figure out, how to get your group moving. All those questions, of course, are awesome, as long as it's not company specific necessarily. So we just appreciate those questions and things. Also, like, share, and comment if this is something you like. I always say, what is your best takeaway? Or what is the one lesson you learned? If you can learn one thing each time you watch, not our video, but any video, what is the one thing that I take away from this that I could apply, use, or maybe a new mindset to be able to see things a different way to help me? Every time you're looking for that one little lesson out of each training. And I don't care if you watch for 5 minutes or 5 hours, you better look for a takeaway each time. If you don't look for the takeaway, then you just wasted, that hour or 5 hours, just watching. That's why I say, run around with a notebook. I still do this. I run around with a notebook. When the idea comes, I write it down and I add that to the list of things that, help me become aware of what's going on. So with that, Bess, anything else before we wrap up today?
If you would like to receive a text reminder for this class every day, I have a list. I do that. So just private message me. If you want to see the replay for this, or the past ones, all the other numbers, go to the Facebook group, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. And if you'd like to be a member there, type me right now and I will add you. I do have, and Jeff mentioned the skills, to getting the skills up. We do teach a skills class on Sunday night. And you can private message me about that. I'd be glad to give you info. Jeff, I do have a question if you have time about network marketing, if you don't have to run today. Okay, I was on a networking group last night, on a Facebook group online, and someone mentioned about, they know someone that's struggling with a part-time job, and they're also trying to build their network marketing business. And do you think they should quit the job and just build the business? And you have the best answer that I've heard on that. Would you mind sharing, in case people here are wondering, or they know somebody that might be wondering about that?
Sure. The easiest logic behind a job of any kind, whether it be part-time or full-time or whatever, is I believe a job should cover your bills. And you should never sacrifice, quote unquote, I'm going to go out and build my business to replace my income. So there's 4 ways to make money, four ways based on the cash flow quadrant. The number 1 way is become an employee. Employees should pay your bills. And unfortunately, normally your bills are usually only taken care of by a job, and really not a lot more. And that usually is true no matter what kind of income level, from doctor down to, the guy that works on the dock. It's usually pretty identical what their lifestyle is to meet. So it just pays the bills. Hi, Stella. So that's the first way to make money, and that's where most of us end up. The second way to make money is sales. So if you're in some kind of business, there's obviously retail sales. There's different things you can sell inside of a business to be able to earn extra money. And I really see sales as extra money. It's not necessarily putting a lot away, depending on what you're selling and the profession you're in. That's what usually happens, Dave. What's happening? So number 1 is income, is employee. Number 2 would be sales. Number 3 is building your business. And my personal philosophy is, and I was kind of talking about this last night to a friend, I said, it's very, very easy to build a direct sales business when you don't need the money. It's easy. It's easy. It's attracting. You're able to attract people when you don't need the money, meaning your job pays for everything you're doing, and you're literally doing the business just to build something long term. But when you have to build the business, meaning you're trying to make a car payment, all of a sudden you're not presenting to the person because there's a great opportunity. You're presenting to the person because you see them as your car payment, or you see them as your house payment, or you see them as food. That's not a good situation to get into. That's not building from a position of strength. That's building from a position of weakness, desperation, need. That's not where you want to be. And you can see this on people's face when they start talking to you about what they're doing. I need you. You have to get in. And let me give you all their eyes change, this glazed over look. We call it commission breath in some cases. They have to close. So I build the business for the reason not to replace the job income. You want to build your business to build a investment. And, some people have never heard this, which is unfortunate. But some people have never heard this inside of direct sales, is the idea behind building a business is to put money away for an investment. So the investment ends up taking over your income. That way you have the investment income and you still have your business. What most people don't realize is their business does this. Even if you say you're building it straight up, you're going to have a good month and a bad month, and you're going to qualify for bonuses. And the next month, that bonus won't be there because it's only a one-hit wonder kind of bonus. There's different seasons in the business. Certain businesses do really well during the holidays and they suck during the summer. And you might hit, a great income, and that income, a lot of times what happens is their business, somebody's business income equals their job income, and they're like, that's it, I quit. Well, what if this was the best month you're going to do all year, and you go from $4,000 back down to $1,000, $1,500, $2,500, but your bills to live require $4,000. Now all of a sudden you're one of these desperate, broke network marketers trying to convince people to get in, trying to buy people's lunch. I mean, it's not a good situation. So again, there's 4 ways to make money. If you want to list them like this: employee, sales or self-employed, business, and then investment. I don't require anybody to quit a job to go do network marketing ever. And I mean, this is ever. My mentors taught me your job pays your bills, your business builds your investment income only. He didn't even say use it for your lifestyle, go get a new car. That's what most people go do. They'll take this money and start living off of it, or they'll take this money. And that's why people do not get wealthy. That's why most people inside of direct sales are like, oh, that doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just taught wrong. It's not only taught wrong, it's shown to people wrong. Most people make some money and all of a sudden they buy a new car. Most people make some money and they'll upgrade their lifestyle, go on a trip. They'll burn it up in things that don't manufacture more money. Would be the right way to say it. They don't have any real assets. They just have a cash flow for the moment. And a lot of times it's for the moment because, the people who got you to a level will not necessarily be the people who get you to the next level or sustain that level. There has to be a constant flux of new people recruited, just like any team inside of sports, just like any, play. They constantly move through new people to get that particular. Too many people live life like a movie. Remember, the movie's 2 hours, but it took 2 years to make the movie and get it produced and get it out there. You watch it for 2 hours and they're condensing all the time frame so it looks like it happens overnight, and it gives you a false sense of what really it takes to get anything done. That's why sometimes it's better to read a book than it is to go to a movie. Your imagination will fill in a lot and it takes time to get through the book. The problem is most people don't have the focus. Most people have the focus of a gnat. It's like, oh, squirrel, they're off to the next thing. So what it takes is some ridiculous focus. So my mentors taught me, you basically keep your job until you have 6 months income put away. You have all of your debt paid, including your house. One of my mentors was like, friend that was in the business was a $500,000 earner. And he was like, I can buy this house. I can put down all the money, but I have to take a loan out on $100,000. He's like, ooh, he's like, what? And the interest rate, this would have been about 82, 83. The interest rates were still up there in the teens. He's like, man, I couldn't see myself giving that kind of money to a financial institution when I know I could just go out and make it in 6 months. I mean, it was powerful. He's like, but it's your decision. It's whatever you want to do. He's like, that decision made me go out and build my business bigger. They had some huge financial thing happen to them. Again, intuition. They had this huge financial thing happen to him. He's like, if I wouldn't have built right then, I would have bought that house. I would have lost the house. Kind of interesting. So, that's just my mentorship told. Pay off absolutely everything. You have no debt. Put 6 months away and you have to be able to live off of your business income for a period of 6 months while you don't touch your job income and still do it. My mentors taught me, don't leave your job until it's an absolute must to leave the job. Now, they didn't say anything about going to get another job, so don't hear this out wrong. If you're in an abusive situation, if you have absolutely no time, sometimes you have to switch jobs or change jobs to be able to, you know, maneuver and actually build the business. Some people, their hours don't work. Especially, I love this. The lower the level, the easier it is to change. And what I mean, the lower the income, the easier it is to change. Because if you work retail and they have really crappy hours and they never let you off for events, you can negotiate that situation much differently. It's like, look, you have two choices. You can either let me off for my open house and let me off for my regional, or I'm going to go find a different job. I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to go do it. You can be in a much more demanding position where, you know, Bess and I have had some people we've talked to that make 6 figures or multiple 6 figures. You have to have a different conversation because that's a little bit harder. That's a maybe 6 week to 6 month process to go get something else. A little bit harder to replace that type of income. And it doesn't mean to be super aggressive. It just means you can demand your schedule when there's more inventory of jobs than there are people to fill them. You know, if you make $10 to $15 an hour in retail or in the restaurant industry, you can demand your schedule in most cases. And if not, you go find something that will work with your schedule to be able to build your business. That's what I teach. You know, but I have that evaluation I have to have a relationship with this person. I have to know their financial situation. I get to know a lot of things before I start giving out advice on how somebody should do something. You know, a difference of a kid, child support. There's so many different factors that go into it. The lifestyle that they live, their ability to, you know, where are they at mentally to be able to build their business. When you start making decisions like that. So that may be a very long answer, but that's the philosophy behind why I teach people to do what they do. I never teach people to quit. I say, then go get a different job. If the hours don't work out, go get a different job. Why are you not making more money if you have these new skills? You know, have you ever thought, sometimes I'll coach people to go into a different industry. I was like, you need to go into a different industry where you can, I mean, imagine learning the skill of sales all day and then being able to go out and contact people. Maybe that might be a good idea. You know, but it has to be something that pays your bills, not two commission things, both of them struggling. That doesn't make sense either. So does that answer the question?
Oh yeah, thanks. Thoroughly. And so this might help you all when you're talking to prospects so that you can be realistic and not say, oh, quit your job and come over here and do this, right? So they'll get mad.
Bess, you froze up on us.
Where'd you go? About talking
there you go.
with people or even your own expectations. So Jeff and I were able to help a very high earner client of mine who had like a 70-hour-a-week job, and he couldn't wait to get out of there. Is ready to do network marketing, you know, to start it from fresh, you know. And so we determined, we helped him to take time, be patient, and find the right part-time, high-paying job, keep that, then build a network marketing business to where he was, you know, back down to maybe, you know, 40 hours a week. So do you have a little bit of time and energy to build it? But Jeff, isn't it another point that if the longer that you keep your job and that you're doing both, you are a role model, then you can show somebody else, hey, I did both. You can do both, right? Rather than the new person say, I can't quit my job and build. You build so fast because you quit your job. I can't afford to do that. But if you keep both, you can be a role model. See, I did it. You can do it.
It's also becoming relatable. I mean, more than just a role model, it's becoming relatable to the people. People will look at your situation as the excuse, right? Whatever you're doing is the excuse that they're going to try to use to get out of doing it. They're like, well, of course you can build it. You're retired. Of course you can do it. You don't have a job. Of course you can do it. You're stay at home. Of course you can do it. You don't have kids. Of course you can do it. You have kids. Of course you can do it. You know, you live on that side of town. You know, whatever it is, people will try to use that as an excuse. And especially when it comes to money, people and time, people are like, well, of course you can do it. You don't have an actual whatever job. So, you know, it's almost like by keeping it, you become more relatable and you're actually able to recruit more people because of it.
Thank you for letting me bring in this question. It just seemed important as a leader in network marketing that we suggest to people. I like your 3 guidelines that before you think of quitting your job, that you have no debt, that you have at least 6, I say 12 months of living expenses saved up, and that you could have lived off your network marketing business for the last 6 months. There wasn't enough of it, you know, spikes and dives that it would be irregular. So thank you. That's it. That's it for me. Thanks for the extra time.
Awesome. Guys, with that, we appreciate everybody. Tomorrow we'll be on, same time, Law of Magnetism. Also, you can find us on the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show page. Request to be a part of it if you're not already, so that way you can get the updates, the insights of what we're doing. I appreciate everybody, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you.